It's 2 o'clock now. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to Water Wednesday. Water Wednesday this month will focus on microplastics. So here you can see the schedule of all the topics for Water Wednesdays in September. Last Wednesday, we went over what microplastics are, why we care, and what we should do to reduce the plastic use. And today, I will teach you how to make your own beeswax food wraps. My name is Yilin Zhuang. I'm the Water Resources Regional Specialized Agent with the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agriculture Sciences Extension. My computer is a little bit slow here. Before I start today's talk, I would like just to take a couple of minutes to introduce extension. So what is extension? Extension is a partnership between state, federal, and county governments to provide scientific knowledge and expertise to the public. We have different formats to deliver scientific knowledge to the public. Traditionally, we have in-person seminars, one-on-one consultations, field days. During these challenging times, we have switched our teaching platforms online. So like today, we use Facebook Live. And here is a list of the programs that we have with extension. You can see it's basically everything, like from agriculture to residential, to your backyard, to 4-H, youth development, and also family and consumer sciences. And here you can see, this is the link for our website. So I always encourage when you search information, start from EDU, because now it's the information era. When you have Google, when you have a smartphone, when you can use Google, you basically have the whole world in your hands. But the question is always, is the information reliable? What I teach here, it's not my opinion, it's all science-based. So if you're searching any information, I highly encourage you to start from EDU because you know it's a university-based. Okay, that's enough about extension. So look at these pictures or look at these logos. Do they look familiar to you? It's the Skip Straw campaign. I think it's 2 years ago, Seattle became the first city that banned single-use plastic straws. So now it's like some municipalities, not necessarily municipalities, I would say some restaurants, they stop giving plastic straws. Some restaurants, you have to ask for a straw. They will give you a single-use plastic straw. And some restaurants, even you ask, they don't provide any single-use plastic straws. So why plastic is such a big deal? So for today's talk, I will get it a little bit interactive. So here it's a true or false statement. So 5 million straws are used in the US every day. That is enough to fill 125 school buses. So what do you think of this statement? Is it true or false? So let me look at our Facebook, see if we have any answers here. So I know, because I'm using Zoom to broadcast this talk, there's a little bit delay, about 10 seconds. So if you are typing, I will wait for a couple of seconds just to see if I got any answer here. So it seems like our live attendees now are kind of shy. I don't see any answers. So I will give you 5 more seconds. Oh, great. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I already saw answers. Awesome. Right, this is a true statement. So, now let's look at the next statement. Every year, the US uses enough straws to wrap around the Earth 2.5 times. What do you think about this statement? Do you think it is true? Right. I saw some statement here said it's also true. So I think by now you already find my pattern here. So I don't like to give a false statement. I like to give a true statement. So in that way, it can help you to remember the facts. So here you can see it's like just from plastic straws. It's and the amount of straws can wrap the earth more than 2 times. That is significant amount of plastic straws. And the next statement is also about plastics. So, I mean, about plastic straws. Plastic straws are among the top 10 items collected on beach each year. Like I said, probably by now you already find out my pattern. So yes, it is also a true statement. So before I show the answers, because here I said plastic straws are among the top 10 items collected on beach. So do you know what are the rest 9 items we collected on beach? Let me go back to Facebook. I'm checking the answer here. I saw some answers for previous statement, and you guys are all right. Yes, it's all true. So while you are typing for the top 10 marine debris, here I want to show you, this is the data from 2018. So you can see all the top 10 items, they are all plastics. And for cigarette butts, it has synthetic fibers. So from this list, let me just read it. So cigarette butts, food wrappers, straws and stirrers, forks, knives and spoons, plastic beverage bottles, plastic bottle caps, plastic grocery bags, other plastic bags, plastic lids, and the last is plastic cups and plates. So you can see all the top 10, they are all plastic related. And one thing is new on this list is forks. It's here, it's the plastic cups, plates, forks, knives, and spoons. They are new on the list. In 2017, what we saw there was plastic and foam takeout containers. So in 2008, it was replaced by other plastic utensils we use. All right, let's move to the next one. Next, true or false statement. 8 million metric tons of plastic entered the ocean in 2010. By the year 2025, the annual input is expected to double. So this is also a true statement. So it's just so hard to imagine when it doubles 16 million metric tons of plastics enter ocean. It's just significant amount of plastics. This is a famous quote I always like to use. Almost every piece of plastic ever made, they still exist. So that brings to the next slide is the concept. It's a microplastics. So last Wednesday, I went through some basic concepts of microplastics. Here we'll just do a quick recap. It's what microplastics are and why we care. So like I said, basically every single piece of plastic ever made, they still exist. So for plastics, they don't biodegrade. So usually it's they break down from big plastic pieces to smaller and smaller. And when they break it down smaller than 5 millimeter, which is smaller than 0.2 inches, then they become microplastics, or they are defined as microplastics. And these type of microplastics, we call them secondary microplastics. And one thing we find a lot for secondary microplastics, they are fibers. So all these synthetic fibers, like the clothes, the t-shirt I'm wearing is 100% cotton. So when it's in water, it will biodegrade. But when it's like polyester, it is nylon. So when it's in water, it doesn't get biodegraded. They will stay in water. Like the picture you can see here, it looks like hair, but it's a synthetic fiber. So synthetic fibers include, like I said, polyester, nylon, and something else. It's a microfiber. So it's also a type of petroleum-based fiber. How do they get into our water? So it just every time you do your laundry, they just shed from the fabric. So another type of microplastics is called primary microplastics. So they are just made small. Here you can see the picture. You have there's a ruler here. You can see those microbeads, those nurdles. They are all smaller than 5 millimeter. One type we find a lot of microbeads is in personal care products. So that can be, I said it the last time, if this is the first time you tune into Water Wednesday, you miss a last Water Wednesday, you can do a fun activity. It may be not that fun. It kind of depressing when you were doing that activity is a look at your personal care products. So you look for one ingredient called polyethylene. So polyethylene, it's a type of microbeads. It's used a lot in personal care product. It's not an active ingredient. It's one of these inactive ingredients you can find basically across the board. So like deodorant, like makeup, I even find some in one mascara, it has a polyethylene, and the other color of mascara, it's the same brand, same model, just different colors. One contain, the other doesn't contain. So you can see it's here. For polyethylene, it's a filler, it's a cheap filler. It doesn't really have any active function for that, mainly just for the like the shine, for the color, or for the texture. So some homework I highly encourage you to do after this talk. Look at your personal care products, see if you can find a term called polyethylene. And another thing you can also do is look at your clothes. If you can look at the label, if you can find the polyesters. So a quick overview is just like what we have found or we have learned microplastics in water. So you can see from the picture, the bottom left is that's a film. So major, it's like plastic bags. So when they break down to smaller pieces, you can observe that under microscope. In the middle one is the microbead, and the right corner is the microfiber. And why do we care? So they are in the environment. Unfortunately, most water and wastewater treatment plants, including your septic systems, they are not equipped to remove microplastics, and they never biodegrade. So in that way, they are also eaten by marine lives. So in the last talk, Water Wednesday's talk in September, I have a guest speaker will give you an overview how microplastics are affecting marine ecosystem. So please stay tuned. And the next, it's what we can do. I think it's the reason most of you tune in today is you want to learn like what we can do. I said the last time it's a 3R principle, and I think we need to add one more. And the first, it should be the refuse we add to it should be the first. So it should be refuse to use microplastic, refuse to use plastic as much as we can, reduce, reuse, and recycle. So one way we can all do Let me go back to the picture because you can see here, it's plastic bags. We can use reusable grocery bags. And in the middle one is the Ziploc bags, which I will show you is how to make your own beeswax food wraps. And the right, it's single-use plastic water bottles. What you can do simply is just use reusable water bottles. Even it is plastic, but you use it for multiple times. You stop using single-use plastic bottles. Over a year, you reduce at least 200. Let's just say you replace one single-use plastic water bottle a day, and every week you reduce 5 bottles. So over a year, it will be more than 250 plastic bottles. Even you are using one plastic cup, but it's reusable. So you are still reducing a significant amount of plastic you can. So I always say it's we can all do something to reduce the plastic use. And like now, like today, we will all learn how to make beeswax food wrap. And here you can see the picture. This is what I made. So I just want to show you, it has different, you can use it differently. You can use it as a replacement of cling wrap, just cover it over the bowl, or you can just wrap your food. So here you can see it's I wrap it with a jalapeno pepper. So how to do that? What you need, you don't need a lot. You need pre-washed cotton materials. So it can be, it doesn't have to be new. You don't have to buy new fabric. It can even be reused cotton materials like your old t-shirt. But what you want to make sure is that you read the label and make sure it's 100% cotton. Because for some t-shirt, it's like polyester and cotton mixture, and the polyester doesn't react to heat and the beeswax well. So we want to make sure it's 100% cotton material. Also, it's the beeswax, parchment paper, iron, and ironing board. I will show you the steps, and after this talk, I will here in the PowerPoint slides, I will show you the steps, and the next I will also demonstrate how to make beeswax food wraps. And if you have any questions, please just leave on the Facebook page. I will answer your question later. And here, the method that I use is use iron. So later I will also tell you another method that people use oven to do that. All right, so how to do it? What you want to do is you place one piece of parchment paper to the ironing board and place your cloth on the parchment paper. And then you sprinkle some beeswax pellets on the cloth. Not sure if you can see it clearly. This was a very colorful fabric, and put some beeswax on that. So you can see it's evenly distributed, but I do want to let you know from this picture, I over waxed it. That was too much wax. And the next, you cover your cloth and the beeswax with a second piece of parchment paper. Iron gently over the top of the parchment paper. The next is you remove the parchment paper. So like I said, it's over wax because you can tell from the edges of this fabric, there were a lot of beeswax residuals. So after you remove the parchment paper, you only need to wait for a few seconds, like a minute will be the top, just to let it cool. After it's cool enough to touch, you gently remove the cloth and let it cool off. Then you have your beeswax food wrap and how to use it. So you can use it as a cling wrap, or you can use it as a Ziploc alternative. And how you wrap it, because the beeswax has a very low melting point, the heat of your hands will be enough to shape it. And something about maintenance. So, because it's really simple, really quick to make it. After you can reuse it. After you wrap it with food, you can wash it with cold water. You wash with cold water and a mild soap. Do not use hot water. Like I said, beeswax has very low melting point. So about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Wait a minute. I cannot remember on top of my mind. It's very low melting point. I will search and put on the comment later. So use hot water, or even you leave it outside like Florida water, highly likely it will melt. After you use it for a few times, I noticed, which I will show you in a second, it has those folds. So when you use it for a while, you can add some small amount of wax and re-iron it. So that will solve the problem. It will, when you re-iron it, your used beeswax full wrap will look like new. So like I said, here I just went through the steps, and next I will demonstrate how to make it. Let me check if you have any questions here. And here on the comment section, I also post a link. So we will really appreciate if you can take this short survey. Just tell us what you have learned and how we can improve our Water Wednesday series. Now let's move to my Facebook page. See if I have any comments here. Here I saw some answers which were about the top 10 items, so you can collect it. And they were all right. You guys are great. All right. What I want to do now is stop the sharing. So let me demonstrate how we can make beeswax food wrap. Let me move my computer. Just wait for a minute. All right, I turn off my virtual background and move my computer to this table so you can see everything better. So like I said, this one is already pre-made. I'm not sure how clear you can see it. Unfortunately, you cannot feel the texture, but after you make it, it's just a little bit crunchy. So this is our brand new beeswax food wrap. And this is the one I used it for several times. So it's hard to see it, but you can see all the folds there. So in that way, later I will also show you how to fix that. So just how to add a little bit more beeswax to it so it will become new. And also want to show you here is this is what I bought. Just want to see the difference between these pre-made commercial beeswax full wrap and DIY your own made beeswax wraps. To be frank, I don't see any difference. I checked the ingredients of this commercial beeswax wraps. They have more than beeswax. They also use some palm tree, like they use two different types of tree resins. So when you touch this commercial made, it's a little bit sticky. I think it's because the palm tree resin. So your own beeswax, it won't feel like that. And probably it's a little bit more crunchier than these pre-made. And also about the cost. This one, this small piece, it's about $6. So you can buy them from like farmers market. You can buy them online. The price wise, it's about the same. The small piece about $5, and this size of piece about $10. But when you make it, it's about it's only 50 cents to make it. All right. Computer, it's a little bit slow here, but it's not a big deal. And also with beeswax, I also want to show you here what kind of beeswax you need. One thing is when you buy beeswax, you want to make sure they are all food grade beeswax, because you know you use them to wrap food. So you want to make sure these are food grade beeswax. I just bought them on Amazon. I bought them in bulk. So what I bought is this bag. Yeah, there's no label on that because I don't want to show any labels. So you can search on Amazon, just see food grade beeswax. They have two different colors. One is white, another is yellow, a little bit yellow. As long as it's food grade, it's not a big deal. And you can buy these pellets. You can also buy, I don't have it here. It's like soap bars. So you can just grate it like cheese and put like the small piece of beeswax on the wraps. When it comes to fabric, so I already got a fabric here. It's a used fabric, so it's just a used t-shirt. But like I said, you want to check ingredients. You want to check the material of your old t-shirt. You want to make sure it doesn't have polyester. So for demonstration, I just cut a small piece of that. Let me think, what's the next I want to do? So like I said, there are two ways to make it. One is you use iron, and personally, I prefer ironing. The reason it's for ironing, even it's overwaxed. First, it's let me just demonstrate to you. Maybe it's easier for you to understand. I feel like I'm not really good at explaining why I prefer ironing method, but after I demonstrate that to you, you will know why I prefer this way. And let me adjust my computer a little bit. All right, so I don't have ironing board. What I'm using here, I just use a cardboard. And I already cut a piece of parchment paper. Then the next thing you want to do is put a piece of fabric on that. I saw one comment here, it's quite ironic. They are shipped in plastic bags. It's quite sad. That's also now, since plastics are widely used, it's so hard if you do grocery, you look at those food products, it's so hard to find a package. It's not plastics. So even you think it's like your cereal box, it's made of paper, but inside is still a plastic bag. So if you find anything like doesn't contain any plastic, I encourage you to post a picture on my Facebook just to share with us what we can do to reduce the plastic use. Can you see that clearly here? The lighting seems a little bit off, maybe too bright. So this is the pre-made, already washed cotton, and I put some beeswax on that. My suggestion, if this is the first time you make it, start from low wax instead of over wax. So if you realize it's not enough wax, you can add more. So for me now, I will just add this amount of beeswax and make sure all the corners got beeswax. And then here is the iron. the iron you want to search select it to cotton, the cotton setting. So I don't see it may take a little bit of time. And then you add another piece of beeswax on that. So while we are waiting for my iron to reach the temperature, let me check the Facebook page. See if we have any comments here. So I read something here, some comment, it's use a cotton sheet. Yes, those cotton sheets actually are really good alternative. Just give me a minute. I don't think my ironing is working. So let me just double check. Okay, I'm back. So I think it's the auto shut off, so it wasn't heating. So the next step is just you just iron it. It's still heating up, so it may take a little bit of time. So while I'm ironing it, I want to explain why I prefer ironing better. So because you can tell when you spread the beeswax on that, if it's not evenly spread, it's not a big deal. Because when you are ironing it, you are pushing the beeswax. Because when it's melted, it becomes liquid. So you can push it to the area doesn't have beeswax. And from the video here, you can already see it's getting wet. So this means the beeswax is already melted. So it just takes a few minutes to melt all the beeswax. So the other way you can do, instead of ironing, you can put it into the oven. So when you put it into the oven, you set the temperature to the lowest temperature of your oven and then leave it there for about 10 minutes. It can also melt the oven. But I tried that method. Probably it's because I didn't spread out beeswax well on the fabric. So some area is over waxed, some area is low waxed. So personally, I don't really prefer that method. I prefer ironing because like I said, in that way, I can make sure the beeswax is evenly covered on the fabric. And somehow my beeswax is very stubborn. They don't want to get melted. And this is also my suggestion. I said if this is the first time you make it, I suggest you to add a little bit less wax instead of more wax, so you won't over wax it. From here you can see it's a little bit low wax. And to fix that is quite easy. You just add more wax. And don't forget the corners. So the whole concept here, you want the whole fabric is soaked in beeswax, but you do not want too much beeswax. Too much beeswax won't stay on the fabric, and when you fold it, the beeswax will fall out. Yeah, I think the melting point for beeswax is about 60 degrees Celsius. So probably 120 Fahrenheit. So it's a very low melting point. When you set your iron to cotton, it will be good enough to melt all the wax. And you can tell I'm not really good at ironing. And to be honest with you, I haven't used ironing before this project. Because for my clothes, they don't really need ironing. And that's another reason I prefer ironing. If your fabric is not flat, it has those folds, then for the folds will tend to have more wax. And when you are ironing it, you won't have that problem. It's quite slow here. So while I'm still ironing it, I will check my Facebook, see if you have any questions here. One question I see here is, does the beeswax absorb odors? So that's a really good question. It doesn't really absorb odor, but when you use beeswax to wrap food, we do not suggest you use beeswax to wrap any meat, raw meat. It contains bacteria, and since you know for beeswax wraps, they are not really like seal water. So we don't recommend use beeswax wraps for any raw meat, but for veggies, half onion, I use that. So after it didn't really absorb the smell. And another way you can do it, you can have your designated beeswax wraps. So for one volunteer, she shared one tip with me. She made a whole roll of beeswax wraps. It's still so slow here. So she just put all the beeswax wraps into the cling wrap, like this box. This is a parchment paper, but to that similar concept, just put the wraps in there, and every time she needed, she just pull out one wrap to wrap food. And I read one comparison study, just see the freshness. That study is use beeswax wraps to wrap cheese. So they compare three methods. One is beeswax, another is a cling wrap, and the third is a container. So the result, they wrap the cheese in this three methods for about a week. I mean, leave the cheese in the fridge for about 3 weeks. So the results were basically the same. The freshness of the cheese were basically no different. I think it's because of my iron. My iron is not really working. It shut off immediately. So yeah, it's my iron is not working. So what I will suggest also is you invest not necessarily a good iron, even it can be a used iron, but you want to use this iron different from the iron you use for your clothes. Because if you don't do it right, you will have beeswax on the iron. Then you have to clean it. It can be a little just extra hassle. You can just get one from Goodwill. This one I got from Goodwill, but I guess I didn't pick a really good product. So it's just the heat is not high enough. I use this only for this project. So I want to show you here, it's just a half product. So let me show you here. You can already, I don't know if you can tell from the video, because it's hard to tell the texture, but you can see this fabric was very thin, but now it gets thicker because the beeswax is well covered on this fabric. And if you look at the corner here, like the edges, it doesn't have any beeswax. So you can just easily tell which part needs more wax. Let me just let it cool for a few minutes. Meanwhile, let me show you. I don't think my iron will work, but what I want to show you here, this is already used beeswax. What you can do is you just add a few more beeswax on that. And then you iron it again. So when the wax is melted, it will soak into the fabric. Then you will have a new beeswax food wrap. And here it's, you can see it's already used wax. It's totally fine. You can just peel it off and use it again. And if you over wax, I feel like I cannot see my face, a little bit weird. If you over wax your fabric, it's also very, to fix it, it's also quite simple. So let's just assume this wax, this paper, you got too much wax on that. All you need to do is to put another piece of fabric on that. This is already beeswax, but I mean, it's without wax. You put another piece of fabric on that, and you put parchment paper on that again. You iron it, because the second layer of fabric will absorb the over wax. So in that way, I can reduce the wax on the first fabric. And some other, I haven't made it. It's quite interesting. I'm showing some kids' pants, but one volunteer shared with me, it's the sleeves. You can use long sleeves or use pants. So you cut it, it will be very good for cheese, because you already have this sleeve. So you can just put cheese into it, and all you need to do is just to wrap both ends. Something else you can also do it, so you can make it prettier, which you can put a button on that and put a string. You can wrap it, but for me, I usually just use the heat of my hands, because here I want to demonstrate. So here is a bowl, and this is just the beeswax we just made together. So you can tell just from the video here, just use the heat of your hands. And it serves as a clean wrap. You can just wrap it. And after you use it, you can see there's some folds, but it's not really a big deal. You can wipe it off or just use soap. So here is the demonstration, how to make your own beeswax food wraps. I think this video may not show very well how to make it. So after today's live session, probably later this week, I will make another video demonstration to show you how to make your own beeswax food wraps. Now let me move to my Facebook page, just to check if I have any more questions here. So one question is, can you put it into the freezer? We don't really suggest it. You use beeswax in the freezer. It's just because of the temperature, it will become very hard. So usually it's for your refrigerator, it will be really good. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I read the comments wrong. So Miss Bree said if you find like if your beeswax absorb the odor, you can put it in the freezer after wash. It tends to get rid of any odors. So that's a really good tip. Thank you for sharing with us. Let me see if I have more questions here. Yeah, because like I mentioned, I'm using Zoom to broadcast this talk, so it has about 10 seconds delay. So I'm waiting for this 10 seconds to pass. While I'm waiting for that, so if you liked this talk, please give us a thumb up and share this video with your friends. And also take the survey for us, help us to improve this Water Wednesday series. So let me read the comments. My Facebook page is acting a little bit odd here, so I cannot see the questions in this Water Wednesday series. Uh-oh. All right, I just unmute myself. Let's see. And this could make great stocking stuff and gifts. Yes, that's one volunteer shared with me. One volunteer attended my class and she made all the beeswax food wraps for family as a Christmas gift. So like I said, she's very creative. She basically got rid of all the plastic, like cling wraps. The whole drawer she just replaced with beeswax food wraps. And what she does, she has a stack there, and she also has a roll there. And the one thing I really like is I just share with you is use sleeves, because for sleeves, it's already this shape. So it's much easier to put anything long into it because you only need to secure both ends. And you can also make pretty, I saw she also made one with pretty button here and put a string. So to me, it's if it doesn't secure well, I just use a rubber band. I think that's I'm checking the questions. I think that's all the questions we have here. So thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions, just leave in the comment section. I will answer your question. I will also write a blog with the detailed instruction. So step by step, how to make your own beeswax food wraps. I will share that blog on my Facebook next Tuesday. So stay tuned. Before I end today's live streaming, I also want to let you know next week the talk will be bioplastics. So are bioplastics better? We will find the answer in next Wednesday. So thank you again and see you next Wednesday. Bye.